Hello, everyone. Welcome to PWRN, Passionate World Radio Network. I am your host, Kim Weiler, and you are listening to my show, Taking Control of Our Health. I'm thrilled today to be interviewing my dear friend and colleague, Katherine Egan. She is an internationally certified holistic health coach and published author. Her new book was just released. It's called Genetics Isn't Everything: How to Make Your Genes Fit You. And by the way, she's not talking about the genes you wear on your body. She's talking about the genes in your body. I'm so excited to delve deep into this content with her because it's so super important. And her book is just so inspiring. So Katherine, hi. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations.
I'm so excited.
Oh, good. Congratulations on your new book and becoming an author.
Oh, thank you. I know you know how that feels. Thank you so much.
I do. It's so exciting, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. At first it didn't quite sink in. It took a while, but it's really exciting.
Oh, good. I'm so happy for you. Why don't you start by sharing with the listeners, what your book is about, because you really approached the topic of epigenetics in such a unique way, and the way the book is structured and everything. I'd love for you to tell them a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So my book is a little bit about genetics and mostly about epigenetics, as you said, Kim. So genetics, that we're all born with a genetic blueprint, our genes, our DNA. I think of that as, the foundation. And then there's epigenetics. Epi, that little 3-letter word in front of genetics, meaning on or upon our genetics. So it's like on top of our genetics. And epigenetics shows that the choices we make every day in terms of things like nutrition, family and other relationships, career, finances, physical activity, home life, spirituality, in whatever that means for you, and toxin exposure. All of these things have more of an impact on our overall health and wellness than most of us truly understand. And I show this through the stories of 16 women who have changed their health and thus their lives with nutrition and self-care and self-compassion. It didn't start out to be all about women. It just kind of ended up that way. But they are all just so inspiring, each and every one of them. They're all different and so inspiring, and they all kind of came to a threshold when they knew they had to do something different. And they're using their stories to help others. So it's great.
I have to say, I'm actually one of the featured stories in her book. And for that, I am so incredibly honored. Words can't describe how beautiful that was for me to just see you go through your writing journey and to be such a close part of it to you. Where did you get the inspiration from to write this book? And I'd love to also know how the idea came to you to interview, several people to share their stories.
Sure. To write the book itself, it's probably a combination of things, or maybe culmination is a better word, because to be a published author, it's something I've always had in me. It's just always something I've wanted to do for as long as I can remember. I wanted to be a published author. I don't even remember when that started. But what the book would be about, I really had no idea. And then in September of 2015, I began the year-long health coach training program at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, where I met you, Kim. And it was there that I heard a lecture from a woman named Andrea Beeman, who had been diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. Though she also had symptoms of hypothyroidism. Her thyroid was kind of all over the map. And she even had a goiter, which is very large swelling on the front of her neck. And her doctors wanted to give her radioactive iodine to essentially destroy her thyroid and then put her on thyroid medication for the rest of her life. Andrea balked at that. She even asked her doctor, well, what if I change my diet? And her doctor told her, your thyroid doesn't have anything to do with your diet, which threw me for a loop. In fact, 4 doctors told her she could not heal this with nutrition. They told her she couldn't heal herself with diet and exercise, and she certainly could not heal her body with her mind and self-love. Well, Andrea didn't like the sound of any of this and knew instinctively that there was a better way, a different way for her. So she walked out of her doctor's office and went home and completely changed her diet and focused on self-care. After about 4 months of this, she went back for some blood work and found that her numbers were now just outside of the normal thyroid functioning range, where before they were like dangerously high, I think was the category. And her doctor told her, even though your numbers are better, you still need to be on some kind of prescription medication, which again, I was stunned. Like, really? In 4 months, she went from dangerously high to just outside of normal. And all you have to say was that you still need to be on prescription medication. She obviously didn't listen to her doctors. She followed her own path. And after 2 years, her thyroid was completely normal. The goiter was gone. Her blood, her numbers, everything was normal. She had healed herself from something her doctors had said was incurable. So that right there just sparked something in me. I knew if there was one story like this out there, there had to be so many others. So I finally had the idea of what my book would be about. I wanted to write a collection of these kinds of stories to give hope, to offer hope to others that maybe there is a different way.
It's so inspiring. You know, I'm listening to you and I 100% relate because, as you know, I have struggled my whole life, half of my life, with psoriasis, the autoimmune chronic skin condition. And I was told, just like Andrea, that diet, there was no proof whatsoever that diet could help heal my skin. And, you know, we learned going to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition together that doctors, you know, nutrition, unfortunately, isn't part of their, their studies. It's not a part of the program in the medical community. And that's just really unfortunate. And I'm sorry Andrea had to go through that. She's just one out of God knows thousands and thousands of people who are going through the same thing with all different conditions. How did you decide whose stories to share though? Like, were you looking for people with certain conditions, or like, you know, what was that process like?
No, I wasn't looking for anything specific. I was looking for people who changed their health with diet, with nutrition and self-care and self-compassion. So they didn't even have to cure an incurable disease. They just needed to improve their life. So I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't looking for anything specific. I was looking for a variety of different stories. Some of the stories in my book are about weight loss. Some of them, there's a couple of thyroid, one hypo, I think one hyper. There's you with psoriasis. There's one of them had biotoxin. I'm blanking on the name of it, but essentially she was highly allergic to mold. There's a specific name for it. There's another one who was misdiagnosed with mono. It just runs the gamut. So I was looking for different stories and different healing methodologies, if you will. Like each one had a different way to heal themselves. So there's a wide variety of conditions and illnesses and diseases, and then there's a wide variety of what these people did, what these women did to take back their control and move on with their lives and help others, to continue to help others.
You know, even reading your book, it motivated me so much. I'm curious what the impact, you know, listening to all of these people, interviewing them, transcribing those stories, how did that affect you? What kind of impact did it have on you?
It's interesting. When we went through IIN, every time we got to a new module with a new dietary theory, I felt like I wanted to try this new thing. So it was like every week, I want to try this diet. I want to try that diet. It was almost the same with my stories. Each contributor was just so inspiring that I wanted to take a little bit of what they did. I mean, obviously I didn't have these illnesses and conditions, but each one had something to offer that I wanted to take into my life and embody. I learned something new, and I took something away from each one of them. Like Andrea, taking a stand and going against her doctors, this took such a tremendous amount of courage and an inner strength that she attributes to her mom. But her story helped me stand up for myself more and kind of strengthen my boundaries. So I can say no a little more easily and only say yes to things that, you know, feed my soul, further my goals, or bring me joy. Otherwise, it's no.
Katherine, that is so beautiful to hear. It really is. It's like writing your book really changed your life.
It did.
That is so wonderful. And just to kind of let the listeners know, as Katherine mentioned earlier, her and I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition together. It was fantastic. It's an online nutrition program where you learn so much. It's just, health coaching is a career that I never even knew what it was. I had never heard of it. But it really, I think a lot of people I talk to think that a health coach kind of just focuses on helping people with their diet. But it's so much more than that, right, Katherine?
It really is so much more.
Oh, it's kind of reminds me of a little bit of everything in your book. Some people helped heal themselves and get themselves through whatever their condition was or illness through, self-love, having a really wonderful balance between relationships and career and, taking care of themselves, all the self-care, the exercise, the spiritual practice, and then others really focused on diet, and that really worked well for them. I definitely believe, just from my own experience, that it is such a combination of all of these things. Like for me with my skin, it's diet, it's skincare, non-toxic skincare, and it's a heck of a lot of self-care, self-love. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, Katherine, first of all, we'll touch on this at the end as well, but tell people where they can find your book.
So it's on Amazon.com. Right now it's a paperback physical book only. The Kindle version will be out within a few weeks. It's also at barnesandnoble.com and outskirtspress.com. And it's so funny. I was talking to my oldest niece on Thanksgiving, and she was telling me, she lives down in Florida. She was telling me that every time she goes into a Barnes and Noble, she goes to look for my book. And as soon as she finds it, she's going to take a picture and text it to me.
Oh, that's so great. I
can't wait for that day.
Oh, yeah. I actually recently had a friend who called Barnes and Noble near them and said, hey, this book is available on your website. Can I order it and pick it up through your store? He lives in Georgia. Uh-huh. And they said, sure. So they ordered it, and he went to Barnes and Noble, picked it up, and sent me a photo of him standing in front of Barnes and Noble with the book. So it's great for people to know that they can do that if for some reason they can't order it or have it delivered or something like that.
No, yeah.
So I have to ask you, here, people, they know you as a health coach, and now you're an author. First of all, what made you want to become a coach?
Well, it's kind of interwoven in and around my story. So I wanted to understand the different dietary theories for myself, for my family, and to help others. I wanted to really understand the differences between conventional farming and sustainable farming and organic farming. I wanted to know more about why it's so important to eat organic, non-GMO, grass-fed, wild-caught, non-processed, whole, real food. Even things like eating locally and seasonally are so important so that we're in harmony with nature as well as with our communities. So it started off with really, for myself, I was a little selfish in that I wanted this information for me and for my family. But the more I got into the program, which is much more complex and broad than I would have ever thought going in, I came out of it wanting to be able to help others. Going in, I didn't have a crystal clear picture of what I would learn or what I would do with the knowledge afterwards. I didn't know that I was going to be a health coach. I just knew my life would be different.
Yeah, I think a lot of people go in not really knowing what that is, and then they come out and they're like, oh yeah, now I want to be a health coach, because they realize that they learn all of this really incredible information, and then they just want to go share it with others so others can heal and live the most happy and joyful and healthy lives as well as them.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to tell you what it's been like for me to just have you in my life. And for everyone listening, now that they know that we've gone to school together, there was a small group of us that found each other, and we became friends instantly. And Katherine and I, not only have we remained friends, but we've actually held each other accountable, which, that's a big word. It's a huge key to success, that word, accountability.
Yeah.
Katherine, do you have a totally different outlook on accountability since going to IIN? Like, would you?
Yes. I'm still not 100% sure I know what the word means, but yes, I have. It resonates with me a little bit differently than it did in the past. It's really about non-judgmental partnering, which is the same way I look at health coaching, but it's kind of like just being a friend and a coach and a mentor and a support system, and kind of, how did you do on that goal this week? I didn't really get to it. Oh, that's great. Why do you think? It's just kind of being in a loving, supporting relationship and nudging a little bit, but in a non-judgmental, loving way.
Oh, that was so beautifully put. I 100% agree. And you explained it so well. I was going to ask you if you recommended everyone have an accountability partner just in life in general.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I never actually thought about that outside of coaching, but yeah, I mean, people who go to the gym or who are trying to lose weight, or, anytime you have a goal that you're trying to achieve, it's good to have an accountability partner, someone that plus it's more fun to do it with someone else, but even just someone on the outside kind of nudging you along. I think it keeps things real. It keeps you honest with yourself, because you can lie to that person, but, they're going to know. And you really can't lie to yourself all that much.
Well, and also, when you say that, it just reminds me of it. What it does for me, I feel like, is it kind of helps you keep to your word. And I think I'm really realizing in life that our word is really all we have. And even if you don't keep to your word, at least you could restore your integrity to the fact that you didn't keep to your word. And it just keeps you honest, and keeps you honest with yourself, and keeps you authentic,
Definitely. Authentic is a huge word. You have to be true to yourself.
Did you find that all the people that you interviewed in your book, did you find that a lot of them did it like where they, helped heal themselves and really got through their journey? Were a lot of them did they feel lonely on their journey doing that? Or did they have a lot of family and friends support them?
I think most of them, I'm trying to think, I think most of them had at least one person that was on their side and helping them through this. Yeah. Someone to just talk a little with and reflect and bounce things off of and keep them to whatever the plan was. There was a couple that kind of did it alone. But for the most part, yeah, I think most of them had at least one person that they could count on to be there when they needed to talk or needed a nudge or just needed a partner.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm thinking about my journey healing my skin, and even now, because it's a chronic condition, and if I have stress in my life or I'm eating poorly, I'll have a flare up, and I manage it pretty well, but lately I've been very, very stressed building my company, and so I have some spots on me right now, and I'm realizing now, even though during my journey I really had my friends and family on board, I'm just realizing now more than ever how lonely the process can feel. Yes, I have wonderful support from friends and my husband, my family, but they're not on the journey with me.
Right.
So I was just thinking of all the people in your book and just how important it is to surround yourself with loving, supportive people. I just think that is so important when you're on any sort of healing journey with anything, whether it's weight loss or you have a chronic condition that you're dealing with. But just to just make sure you really do that for yourself. Surround yourself with positive, loving people.
Absolutely. It's really important.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it on your own because you get, there's that negative self-talk. There's your ego versus your soul constantly talking back and forth in your head. And
yes,
it's difficult to kind of you have to have a very strong will and strong determination to be able to do it on your own. And it's just a little bit easier when you have someone on your side helping you along, talking you through things and just being there.
Yeah, and it's so much easier to be so kind to others. Like we're better to others than we are to ourselves sometimes. A lot of the time. Did you kind of struggle with that voice, even just in the journey of writing your book, or did you find that you just knew you were putting something so beautiful out there into the world that, what was that like?
I didn't feel that at all when I was writing the book. Writing this book was just something that once it started, there were some stalls along the way, stops and starts, if you will. But I just knew that I was going to get through it and it was going to be amazing. And I just plugged along. And it's interesting that there were some lulls in between interviews, and sometimes I would just kind of put it aside and not look at it for a week or so. But once I got back into it and I was transcribing one of my interviews or writing the story and tweaking it and fleshing it out and making it flow a little better, I just got so lost in the stories that it's like when you're in the zone or the flow or in some state of zen, you're just kind of so focused that the rest of the world disappears. So I didn't have a lot of that negative self-talk when it came to this book. I have it in a lot of other areas of my life, but not this book.
That's because, I find, this is my own belief, but I find that when you're doing something that will impact lots and lots of other people and it'll help them in some way, it's like nothing can get in your way. It's meant to be out there. It's meant to get done. It's meant to be put out there so other people can read it. Like, this book was solely produced to help others. I mean, it's so inspiring, so motivating, so beautifully written. I can't wait first of all, I can't wait to buy it. I already started buying it as holiday gifts for so many people in my life. People who really need the inspiration, because that's exactly what it does. Like I said, reading a lot of the stories in it motivated me so much. And I already thought I was really motivated, considering I know how to heal my skin. I've done it more than once. I wrote a book about it, but some of the things these people went through is reading about it. My heart really broke for them and goes out to them. And it's just, it's like when you read a story about a heroine, it's like you just, it's so beautiful to see them persevere in the end. It's just wonderful that they've taken control of their health and now they can live a really happy, joyful life, where before, whatever it was, the illness, the weight, whatever they were struggling with was the one in control, and it had them, kind of locked away. And now all of a sudden, nope, not anymore. Now they're in control of their life, and they can kind of, that was chapter 1. And now they kind of turn the page, and now they realize they can write chapter 2.
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you keep your motivation to stay healthy and just continue down this healthy path? Because I get that question a lot from people. Like, how do you keep motivated?
Well, for me, I came to the realization at a very young age that I needed to do something different to focus on my health and wellness, to make sure I exercise and move my body and eat well. I have, this is part of my story that's wrapped around the book. Like, it starts with my story and it's kind of ends with my story, and it's about epigenetics. It kind of explains epigenetics through my story, and it's interwoven throughout all the stories, really. But I have a very not so good family medical history on both sides of the family tree. So on one side, it's any kind of cancer, and on the other side, it's anything and everything related to heart disease. And I knew this from a very young age. My dad died when he was 45. He had a brother who was 38. So it was I knew from a very young age. I couldn't have put the words health and wellness or epigenetics or anything like that. I would not have used those words back then. I was young. But I knew instinctively that I needed to take care of myself, and I was going to have to take care of myself physically and emotionally and mentally and through food for the rest of my life so that I could not get these diseases. So when I was writing the book, I knew that I would have to integrate my story into it. And at first it was a little tricky because I kind of didn't know how to do that. Many health coaches write about themselves and they use their personal story and what they had to overcome as their platform, as their message, as their market even. Like you did with Kim, like you did, Kim, with your psoriasis. You used that you wrote your own book about it. You founded Healing My Skin. I'm oversimplifying, obviously. There's a lot more to your story than that. But my point is that I don't have that kind of a story where I overcame something. My story is where epigenetics comes into play. And it's about not overcoming, but about avoiding and preventing illness and disease and these conditions.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really hoping that you would talk about that. That was going to be a question of mine if you hadn't touched upon, just because I know you and we're friends and I know your story really well. So I'm really glad you touched on that because prevention is prevention. It's there for everyone to access, but they need to be aware. They need the educational aspect of it. And so more books like yours that are written, it's so important. It's so important in this lifetime for people to just keep reading more stuff like that, keep getting introduced to books out there that are like that, just so that they can read about all these, random people they don't know who. There's so many people struggling out there and so many people who have persevered and who have taken control. So it's so important to just keep spreading the word, spreading work like yours, to just, get people aware and so that they could prevent what might happen later down the road, developing an autoimmune disease or, gaining weight and struggling later or whatever it may be. I know there's hundreds of different ailments and issues and things people suffer with, but I'm so grateful for you and honored to know you, Katherine. I'm so happy for you that you wrote this book, and it's really just such a huge accomplishment. And I just can't wait for more and more people to read it. I really can't. Why don't you tell everybody listening again where they could find the book?
So it's available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com and OutskirtsPress.com. And right now it's just the physical book, and the Kindle version will be available within a few weeks. And I'm also having it translated into Spanish, thanks to my husband.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Go Sam. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, is there anything before we kind of sign off? Is there anything that you would like to leave anybody listening with? Something about the book or just about health in general or
So the book itself, it's kind of like I wanted to offer people hope. I'm kind of on a mission to spread hope. That's how I say it. That's like my new mission in life, to spread hope. And through this book and my next book, I want more and more people to understand how much influence they have over their own health and wellness. I want people to think differently, to not have a prescription medication be the first step on a health journey. There's so many other ways that you can go about healing yourself. And here's something that I always like to make a point about. I want people to grasp the fact that it's not just you are what you eat. It's also, to take it a step further, you are what your food eats.
Oh, good one.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and just everyone on this planet deserves to be happy and healthy, to live with love and joy, and to feel safe and to have peace. And when you understand how much control you have over your health and wellness, these things will come along with that.
Oh, so beautifully said. I love that message. And again, it's like it all comes down to just being aware and knowing that you're the one with the control. It's a choice. It really is a choice.
Yeah.
Oh, Katherine, it has been so wonderful having you on. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. I'm honored to be here with you, to be talking with you. And I have to thank you and let the world know that you, Kim, were my writing coach, my life coach throughout this process of writing this book. And you were my accountability partner, and you helped me so much with the book, but also personally as I went through this journey. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was such a privilege and an honor for me to be part of that process and to be featured in your book too. I just love it so much. It's just warms my heart when I think about the experience we went through. And I cannot wait to have you back after, when you're done with your second book. It's so exciting that you're out there, starting that one. Well, Katherine's first book is called Genetics Isn't Everything: How to Make Your Genes Fit You. And like she said, it's available on Amazon.com, barnesandnoble.com or outskirtspress.com. So I also want to thank you guys for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this interview with Katherine as much as I did. If anyone has any questions, you can contact me at kim@healingmyskin.com. And to listen to the show, you can go to passionateworldradionetwork.com, or you can find it on iTunes by typing in my name, Kim Weiler, Weiler, Healing My Skin. And please subscribe to my channel and support me if you like the show. I'd really appreciate that. And you could also find my book, P.S. It's All About Love, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Outskirts Press as well. This is your host, Kim Weiler, with Taking Control of Our Health on PWR Network. Thank you so much for listening.